Ferrari brought the biggest upgrade package of the entire 2026 season. 11 new parts, a revolutionary rear wing nobody else in Formula One dared to copy, a redesign across more than half the car. And after all of that, Lewis Hamilton exposed a problem so serious that the FIA now believes Ferrari may have developed an entire Formula One car around the wrong data. The terrifying part is this: the upgrades actually worked. Ferrari gained massive straight-line speed. The SF-26 became more stable, faster in corners, more competitive over a full race distance. But somehow, the team still looked lost, because hidden underneath Miami was a problem nobody outside Maranello fully understood until Hamilton said 6 explosive words: "The simulator does not work." And that changes everything, because if Ferrari's simulator is wrong, then every single upgrade, the new floor, the new front wing, the famous Macarena, rear wing capable of rotating almost 180 degrees, may have been designed for a Formula One car that does not actually exist on track. Imagine spending millions building the fastest fighter jet possible, only to realize the blueprint was flawed from the beginning. That is the nightmare Ferrari could be living right now. And the scariest part for Ferrari fans is that Canada may expose the truth completely. Ferrari did not arrive in Miami hoping for a miracle. They arrived believing this was the moment their entire season would finally change. Because inside Maranello, engineers knew something the public did not fully understand yet. The SF-26 was not a terrible car. In fact, according to multiple technical evaluations after Miami, the chassis and aerodynamic platform were already extremely competitive. The real issue was efficiency. The car was generating performance, but losing too much of it on the straights. And in Formula One, that becomes deadly very quickly. Think about it like running with a heavy backpack. You might still be strong. You might still corner well. You might even keep up for part of the race. But eventually, the extra weight drains everything. That was Ferrari's situation during the opening races of 2026. The car could fight in corners, but every long straight exposed the same weakness again and again. Too much drag. Too much resistance, too much energy being wasted simply trying to cut through the air. And Ferrari knew that if they did not solve it immediately, the season would slowly collapse before summer even arrived. So Miami became the target. Not a small update, not a normal development step. The biggest upgrade package Ferrari had introduced all year. 11 separate components, changes across more than half the car, a complete aerodynamic rethink, and the centerpiece of all of it looked almost unbelievable. The Macarena rear wing. Now at first, the name sounds ridiculous, but the engineering idea behind it was deadly serious. Ferrari created a rear wing capable of rotating in ways no other team had successfully copied yet. And the goal was brutally simple: reduce drag at all costs. Because under the new FIA regulations, straight-line efficiency matters more than ever before. The electrical systems are more aggressive. Battery deployment changes race pace constantly. Energy harvesting effects overtaking opportunities. One weakness creates another, then another, then another. And suddenly a car that looks fast becomes impossible to race properly on Sundays. Ferrari understood that chain reaction. That is why the Macarena wing mattered so much. According to reports from Miami, Ferrari expected gains of around 10 kilometers per hour on straights from this single concept alone. 10 kilometers. That is not a tiny improvement in Formula One. That is the difference between defending into turn 1 or getting past before the braking zone even begins. And here is what makes this even more fascinating. The Macarena was not designed to work alone. That was the hidden part most people missed. Ferrari redesigned the front wing specifically to feed cleaner airflow into the new floor. The new floor was engineered to stabilize rear downforce under braking. The rear suspension was revised to support the new aerodynamic balance. Even tiny carbon appendages around the halo were modified to redirect airflow more efficiently toward the side pods. Every piece depended on another piece. Like dominoes, if one element behaved differently than expected, the entire system could lose balance instantly. And that is exactly why what happened next became so dangerous for Ferrari. At first, Ferrari believed the gamble had worked. The numbers from Miami looked encouraging almost immediately. Leclerc became extremely competitive through medium and slow speed sectors. The SF-26 looked calmer under braking. The rear instability that haunted the early races suddenly appeared more controlled. And most importantly, the straight-line speed finally arrived. The Macarena wing delivered almost exactly what Ferrari had promised internally. Around 10 kilometers per hour more on the straights. That is massive in modern Formula One, especially in a season where tiny efficiency gains are deciding entire grids. For a moment, Ferrari looked alive again. And this is where the story becomes almost cruel, because the FIA analysis after Miami suggested the upgrades genuinely improved the car. Not fake improvement, not media exaggeration, real performance. The new floor increased rear stability during braking zones. The aerodynamic balance improved. Ferrari's race pace became one of the strongest in the field behind Mercedes. But despite all of that, the final result still felt disappointing. And that confused a lot of people watching the race. How can a car become faster everywhere and still not truly close the gap? That contradiction is the key to the entire Ferrari crisis. Because performance was never the only problem. Operational mistakes were still destroying races. Strategy errors, setup confusion, poor correlation between simulation and reality. One issue kept infecting the next, like cracks spreading through glass. And this is where Lewis Hamilton entered the center of the storm. After Miami, Hamilton made one of the most explosive comments any Ferrari driver has made publicly in years. He said the simulator basically did not work. Now, for casual fans, that might sound dramatic. But inside Formula One, that sentence is terrifying. Because teams rely on simulators for almost everything before a race weekend even begins. Drivers prepare setups there. Engineers predict tire behavior there. Aerodynamic concepts are validated there. Energy deployment maps are refined there. Entire upgrade philosophies are built there. A modern Formula One team without accurate simulator correlation is like a pilot flying through clouds with broken instruments. And Hamilton explained exactly what was happening. He said he would develop setups inside the simulator, arrive at the actual circuit, and discover the car behave completely differently in real life. Different balance, different responses, different feeling, different reality. And suddenly, Miami stopped looking like a simple bad weekend. It started looking like evidence of something much bigger. Because here is the terrifying possibility Ferrari now faces. What if the upgrades were developed correctly, but around incorrect simulator assumptions? That changes everything. Imagine building a house using measurements from a distorted blueprint. The walls might be beautiful. The materials might be expensive. The construction itself might be perfect. But if the foundation measurements are wrong, eventually the entire structure starts fighting itself. That may be exactly what Ferrari is experiencing with the SF-26. And according to technical reports after Miami, the problem may be connected directly to the new 2026 regulations themselves. Because these new cars rely far more heavily on electrical systems than previous generations. The MGUK deployment now plays a massive role in how the car behaves dynamically during acceleration, braking, and energy recovery phases. The problem is that teams still do not fully understand all the real-world interactions yet. Some simulators adapted faster, others did not. And Ferrari may have underestimated just how difficult this transition would become. But here's the detail that makes Hamilton's comments even more uncomfortable. Leclerc has not criticized the simulator the same way. Why? Because Leclerc has spent years inside Ferrari's system. He learned how to interpret its weaknesses. He understands when to trust the data and when to ignore it instinctively. Hamilton does not have that adaptation yet. He came from Mercedes, a team famous for simulator precision. So when he stepped into Ferrari's environment, the disconnect became impossible to hide. And suddenly, one terrifying question started spreading through the paddock. What if Ferrari's biggest weakness is not the engine, not the aerodynamics, not even strategy, but the fact they may not fully understand their own car anymore? And this is where Ferrari's entire 2026 season starts becoming dangerously fragile. Because once a team loses confidence in its simulator, every decision becomes slower. Every setup becomes a gamble. Every upgrade becomes uncertain. And in Formula One, uncertainty kills momentum faster than almost anything else, especially when your rivals are evolving at full speed. Mercedes already looked stronger in Miami. McLaren continued extracting incredible pace from the MCL42. Even Red Bull found nearly 1 second per lap compared to earlier races. Ferrari improved, but everyone else kept moving too. That is the nightmare, because Formula One is not about improving in isolation. It is about improving faster than the people trying to destroy you every Sunday. And right now, Ferrari may be trapped in the worst possible middle ground. Fast enough to see potential, not stable enough to reach it. And nowhere was that more obvious than during race execution in Miami. Because while the car improved technically, Ferrari still sabotaged itself operationally. Strategy mistakes returned again. Timing decisions created confusion. Critical moments slipped away. And suddenly the upgrades that should have transformed the weekend became buried underneath avoidable errors. That matters because Formula One cars are emotional machines as much as technical ones. When drivers stop fully trusting the platform underneath them, tiny doubts begin changing everything. Brake later or earlier. Attack the curb or avoid it. Trust the rear tires or protect them. Push the battery deployment now or save it. At 200 miles per hour, hesitation costs tenths instantly. And tenths become grid positions. Grid positions become strategy limitations. Strategy limitations become lost podiums. Then the pressure starts growing inside the team. And Ferrari is already carrying more pressure than almost anyone else on the grid. Because this is not just another project. This is Ferrari. Every week result becomes a national discussion in Italy. Every technical problem becomes political. Every radio message becomes front-page news. Now add Lewis Hamilton into that environment. A 7-time world champion. The biggest driver move in years. A driver who arrived expecting Ferrari to fight for championships again. Instead, only a few races into the project, he publicly questions one of the core development tools of the entire organization. That is not normal. And inside the paddock, people noticed immediately. Because drivers almost never criticize simulator correlation publicly unless the frustration has already reached dangerous levels internally. But here is where things become even more fascinating. The irony is that Ferrari may actually be closer to competitiveness than people realize. According to post-Miami technical evaluations, the SF-26 may already be the 3rd fastest car on the grid overall. That sounds encouraging, until you realize the gap still remaining. Mercedes appears ahead. McLaren may still hold the more complete package. And Ferrari's engine deficit reportedly continues, costing around 3 to 4 tenths per lap compared to the leaders. 3 or 4 tenths does not sound huge to casual viewers. In Formula One, it is enormous. That can be the difference between pole position and starting 5th, between controlling the race and getting trapped in dirty air. And dirty air changes everything. Tire temperatures rise. Aerodynamic efficiency collapses. Battery deployment becomes compromised. Overtaking opportunities disappear. So even if Ferrari fixed the drag problem, even if the chassis improved, even if the new floor genuinely works, the team still remains trapped underneath multiple unresolved weaknesses at once. And now Canada is approaching, which may be the most revealing race yet for Ferrari's future. Because Montreal amplifies both strengths and weaknesses brutally. Long straights reward Ferrari's new low-drag philosophy. Heavy braking zones should benefit the redesigned floor and rear stability improvements. The famous Wall of Champions punishes unstable rear behavior instantly. And the circuit's long acceleration zones put enormous pressure on energy deployment systems. Exactly the area where simulator correlation matters most. So Canada is not just another race weekend anymore. It is almost a live experiment, a test of whether Ferrari truly understands what it built in Miami, or whether Hamilton was warning everyone about a much deeper crisis still hiding underneath the surface.